Hi, my name is Dylan Wong, and the topic that I chose was suicide and depression rates among young athletes. It's a little depressing, but I felt that it was something that should be talked about and addressed, especially in our world today. So the issue is among U.S. college athletes, suicide is now the second leading cause of death after accidents, and rates have doubled from 7.6% to 15.3% over the past 20 years, according to a study that was published on April 4th in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. So suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the US, but for Americans that are aged 10 to 14, as well as 25 to 34, it's the second leading cause. And for those ages 15 to 24, it's the third leading cause. So the pressure to perform both academically and athletically and balance the responsibilities of each can lead to anxiety and depression, which is kind of the main topic or main idea of the issue here. Suicide had previously been identified as a leading cause of death among young athletes in the National Collegiate Athletic Association, which has put more of an emphasis on the well-being of athletes in the past decade by publishing a consensus document on best practices for mental health. And so next, we have the conversation. So the rates of suicide and depression rates among young athlete has sparked lots of curiosity to researchers, as sports are a very effective way to relieve one's mind. And basically what I mean by that is a lot of people nowadays go to the gym or do all these extracurricular activities just to like kind of relieve stress because that's what they enjoy doing. But for some people, it's been doing the opposite and leading to mental health issues. So highly competitive sports put pressure on the performing athlete, which can lead to problems of anxiety or depression, which can obviously eventually lead to suicide, which is really unfortunate and sad. Most of the athletes who have experienced this issue of suicide are aged at 20, which is typically the middle of the collegiate athlete's school career. And the accuracy of determining the cause of death is particularly tricky with suicides and may vary depending on the availability of autopsy and even family reports surrounding circumstances. Also, relying on media reports and public records to identify causes of athletes' deaths will likely result in underreporting. So what that means is a lot of people who have committed suicide and are athletes, a lot of it hasn't been necessarily tied to their athletic career, just because, I mean, it's sports. And so for the research of the 1,102 deaths that occurred during the 20-year time period, 128 suicides were among people who ranged in ages 17 to 24 and were predominantly male, which was 77%, as well as white, which was 59%. And the people who had the highest suicide rates played cross country. They had the highest rates compared to anyone else in the study, a finding that surprised the authors since previous research found higher rates in football. So it used to be football and now it's cross country. Suicides were most common in months outside of June through August and on Mondays and Tuesdays, which is pretty interesting. And even though athletes are more likely to spend time on non-screen activities than their non-athletic peers, the perceptions or messaging around the performance on social media often leads to worse feelings of well-being. So what I mean by this is like a lot of athletes we see posting on Instagram or other forms of social media are bashed because they either played poorly or they did something, or like some sort of rumor has been going around and people leave comments, which often leads to mental health issues for the athlete. Then there's the pressure to perform both academically and athletically and balance the responsibilities of each, which can lead to anxiety and depression. This loaded schedule can leave less time for social connection, resulting in feelings of isolation, even if they're not part of a sports team. And so, what I mean by this is a lot of athletes spend so much time playing their sport that they don't actually have an actual life besides that sport because they're so focused on it and they feel like they need to perform really well. So, yeah, that's my topic.